the whole Han Solo moment, I like to call it, it was because of the moment that when he got frozen in carbonite, and that's what I felt like. I was frozen in carbonite when that call happened, and I lost that contract, and I had to working, working. One, say hello. Hi, say hi. This is Cinda. Okay, let's see. Is that there? We go. Better. You guys can come up here if you want. All right. So I really wanted to tell this story. I like to call it the my Han Solo story. I just came up with this while I was in the bathroom. Doesn't matter where I came up with it. I just came up with the name for it. Um, oh, cats want to get out. Okay, one second. Oh, okay, all right. Where were we? Yes, Han Solo story. Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys. I wanted to share the story a long time. I was actually talking to one of my interns about this story, and it's been on a rant. And it's funny because I think it really talks about like if you really want to do something in life, if you really want to just push yourself, sometimes fate puts you in positions where you kind of have to do something, and you just have to trust that it might work or it might not work, and the result will be either really bad or really good. So basically, the story goes like this: I traveled to Russia, and I married a lovely lady who's now my wife. Yes, and we at that time were married for about three months, and I was working remotely in Russia. So the whole story of getting married and all going back and forth and getting into Russia and staying there in 2017, that's another story. This is like this one. So I worked remotely for a video games company, and I had secured a contract with a company that a very well-known company with a good gentleman who is still my friend even after this kind of happened, but it all worked out. There's another story that I can share about the reason why you should be reasonable and understand and try to be empathetic to other people who have in the past helped you. So Steve helped me through a number of situations, really helpful. But unfortunately, in this situation, it kind of like went a bit sideways. So we had a project that we were working on, and that project didn't work out. And I kind of already had the sense that something was not right. So I kind of put the question to him about how long the runway is for this project left, because we had a lot of time that we put in, and it just didn't seem like we were making much progress. And basically, he said at the time it was about 9 months, and I think about 3 months later, I kind of it was just when you trust your instinct, you really should trust your instinct, and I have since then. If I get this kind of tingling, and anxious feeling something's not right, I would definitely. I definitely now just move a lot quicker, and I don't wait. In this case, I was waiting, and then I got this call right on Skype. I said, we need to talk, he said. And I'm like, all right. And I just went flush, like red. I just kind of knew it, It was just like this project was dragging on. We kept on missing calls and meetings. It was just not good. And I was actually at the time working remotely, and I was working from the kitchen. I wasn't working because we were living in a small apartment, like a one-bedroom apartment, and I would only work in the kitchen. So basically, as I was my evenings were learning Russian and my days were working, and it was just I was getting cabin fever. It was really bad. So psychologically I was kind of like struggling a bit. And so this is kind of like I got flush red. But the thing is I'd already bought a ticket to go back to Melbourne for the end of November 2017. So he calls me up and says, look, got some bad news, run out of cash. We're gonna have to, we can't do this project anymore because it's like it was an internal project. It wasn't a publisher project, so it wasn't like a pay per milestone. It was like an internally funded one that would pay for itself, and those are, ridiculously difficult for a small studio to pull off. We tried, and it didn't work, and so I remember like a call just scrambling really hard, like I was going, what do I do now? So the first day I contacted everyone in that I knew to try and secure some work. Now, think about this: I'm in Russia. I'm actually head over heels in debt after everything. So I was like up some ridiculous amount, and I spent it all. Went wild, went crazy. My home deposit just washed away. Yep, home deposit washed away with travel, and I was making enough money to just survive and just chip away at the debts. But with this primary contract gone, I had nothing else left, and so I was basically in debt in Russia, and no contract. And so I was just like every day I would just go. I was. First thing I did is I stepped back and I made a plan of all the things that I could do to secure work. Now there was two levels. There was the best level, which was we secure work. I can come back to Russia and everything's happy. Good to go. And you got to think I've only been married for 3 months. I'm in this situation, right, where I could be have to leave the country, and trying to get a visa to Australia is no small feat. That whole visa process, that's another story which I'll share with you guys. So basically, in the span of I think a week, he called me up and said, look, with this project's ended, you've got 2 weeks worth of pay for this contract, and then that's it. So I'm like, all right, okay, first thing, what do I need to do? Made a plan. Who do I need to talk to get another contract? I went on job sites, every single job site I could find. I put my profile up. I put my details for remote work on Stack Overflow, on Seek, on Link, everywhere. I contacted anyone and everyone I thought they could have something. Fortunately, I'd been doing C# at the time. I had some Swift experience for iOS, and I had some Android Kotlin experience, very little. Had Java experience, had C++. So I wasn't helpless, right? I had skills, I had the knowledge, and I'd worked in a lot of different fields. So I'd already done a little bit of fintech. I've done a little bit of IoT. I've done like little bits of stuff that I could explore and open those doors up and kind of pry them open. So it wasn't like I was just out of uni and had no experience. So that worked for me. I added things to my resume. I've updated my resume, updated my site. I pushed out into all my contacts, all the things that I could, anything that I could pick up. I contacted industry people in video games industry in Melbourne and Australia to see what I could do. And I lined up interviews, and I contacted anyone and everyone. And so when I flew to Australia, I only was going, because when I booked my ticket, it was for 4 days just to catch up with my parents and family, because I hadn't seen them for about a year. And when I got there, I think I got there on the Friday, and because I'd booked it before this whole situation happened, it was like on the Friday, and then I left, I think on the Wednesday, right? Because it was just that was meant to be a family visit, not a work visit. So I had, I think, 5 days to find work and enough work that I could work remotely in another country and in Russia. So at the time, it wasn't really a big deal that I was in Russia for most people. It's not like it is now where people, there's sanctions and there's difficulties in transferring funds, but people still do it anyway. Working remotely, it's kind of settled down now. But that's not the point. So I landed in Melbourne, and I had a wild night on the Friday. I just I did the whole let's say what's a good way to put it? I broke up in my head and try to shake it. Before I actually landed in Melbourne, though, I was on the plane and I was just reading the reference manual for Swift, and I was just coding everything in Swift, because I had the most of the interviews that I had were for Swift. It wasn't so much C# stuff going on in .NET. I don't know why. It was more iOS work. And so I had 2 interviews on the Monday for iOS, and so I just focused on that. And I had some Swift shop work that I could pick up with another friend that I was going to see on the Wednesday before I left. And on the Saturday, I was still recovering from breaking of my head, and on the Sunday, I kind of just sat down and did the whole Swift thing again. And I was just exhausted by the end of it. And so came Monday, I had these 2 interviews. I had the first one was just disaster. So I quickly kind of tried to bring my thoughts together on the disaster and interview. And I went to the second one, this company called J-Tribe, who had been bought by Growth Ups, an agency. And Tristan's the guy that I kind of spoke to, Tristan and Nathan, amazing guys. And it was, I went in and I did the interview, and we did a test on the whiteboard, and we did this thing that I'd just been looking at, which was associated enum values for Swift, and I just picked those up on the weekend because I knew that they were pretty useful. And we did a little timer exercise, and I kind of had this confident feeling that, yeah, this is going to work out. I then had another interview, and this was for an old company, IoT work, and that also went really well. And this is where it's amazing, like in 5 days, like in 5 days, I was able to secure 2 roles because of the pressure I was under. I was just so intense and intent to get this done. And I was able to negotiate between those 2 roles a higher rate than I was on previously, probably about a third higher, right? So, and not only that, on the Wednesday when I saw my old friend Daniel from video games company, he also was able to secure me C-sharp work. So I was able to get a C-sharp contract short term with a medical company that wasn't necessarily going to pan out. And then I got these 2 roles and I was able to secure one. And the problem was, here it is, the problem was that the Swift role was on site. So even though I was head over heels in debt, I was able to cut all those debts into no payment for financial difficulty for a period of time, and those and that sort of helped me stabilize things. So I got rid of credit cards, all this kind of stuff. I had to still purchase a ticket to come back to start work in January. So this is another story. But the point is I went nuts. I went crazy, and the whole Han Solo moment that I like to call it, it was because of the moment that when he got frozen in carbonite, and that's what I felt like. I was frozen in carbonite when that call happened, and I lost that contract, and I had to, leave to another galaxy, leave to another world, and scramble and pull this off, and who knows? I mean, fate played such a big role in this, but if I wasn't so laser focused and intent and just wrote out 100 different things and I didn't fire them away, I would have never, it wouldn't have happened, and because of the fact that I was struggling and people maybe noticed it, they were a bit more sympathetic. And so I've never had a problem with, being a little bit humble in these situations, knowing that you're in a position where you need help and you're willing to work for it, and you're willing to give yourself to get something. And what I really wanted was to be with my wife in Russia at the time, and the whole working remotely wasn't that important. So we went from a 1-bedroom apartment, right, and to save money and to pay off debt, we went to my wife's grandmother's room. So we went from a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen and 2 cats in Russia to I think a 4 by 5 meter room with our stuff. But thank God, like, one of the things that saved me also was a remote office just walking distance from the city center in Russia. So we were like in the city center of St. Petersburg, and that was like a remote work. So I saved my head, my mental health, because I was working remotely, not from home in a small room, but I was able to work in a co-working space. And the combined, like the payment for the desk and the rent, my rent was like, I think a quarter, no, less than a quarter, about a fifth of what it was before. And it was the room, the actual room where I was for the desk that I was fine. I had like a good desk with a nice view. I mean, that was great. I mean, had so many good memories there, like all those 3 seasons. So we had like autumn, spring, winter, summer, like, and I could see this beautiful view of St. Petersburg from there. So I have really, really positive memories. And I guess, yeah, I mean, you just have to trust fate, and you have to make the leap, and you just have to go. And when it comes time to run, you just got to run. I've always been someone to take chances and take risks and to be a little bit, I guess, excitement seeking. But I think the miracle of how I met my wife and how that all worked out and how we were able to sustain that, and now that we have a daughter, I mean, that story is, and all these stories and all these risks that you take and the effort that you put in to make things happen, that's what binds you to do I guess the unbelievable. And I look back on it and I go, how did I even pull that off? I was like this close to you having to have to go bankrupt, and yet the tables turned, and here we are in a townhouse that we bought, and it's not huge, it's not crazy, but in the span of, I guess, 7 years, that's a turnaround. With my wife's been able to come to Australia, and we've sorted the whole visa thing out, and she's a permanent resident here and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, that's my Han Solo moment. So somehow, I guess, things worked out. Like, I I remember leaving when I left Melbourne, and I was like, whew, what a relief. I kind of like I went, this is gonna work out. This is gonna be okay. And the stress, the contrast of the stress to the relief. And the funny thing is like, at no point did I feel overwhelmed because I'd been in worse situations. I've been in worse situations, and I guess that's time for another story. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a lot of crazy stories to share. So yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.